You want to be featured? Go ahead. Tell them what you want to say. Just pooping on me. Listen, when you are home alone bored, you will find ways to entertain yourself, okay? And that leads into the next thing I'm about to say. The reason why I do that is because we have nothing here. We PCS from South Korea, so our household goods are still on the way. So that is, yes, you guessed it, what this video is going to be about. My PCS experience from South Korea back to the States. Anyway, we left Texas around 2018. I'm not sure if it was the winter. No, it was around March. So around March 2018 to go to South Korea. When we got there, it was freaking cold. It was snowing. And I don't mind. I love winter. Winter's my favorite season, so I didn't mind it. But it was kind of cold. Leaving from Texas. So yeah, we were supposed to be there for 2 years, but we ended up being there for 2.5, almost damn near 3, because of the pandemic, of course. So I'm glad to be back home. I'm glad to be back in the States. I'm just so glad to be back. You guys just don't understand. I can't say it enough. Granted, the experience was by far it was a good experience. It was a very good experience as far as traveling to another country, and being in another country allowed us to travel to other countries in Asia. So our PCS experience was, I'll say this, going to a foreign country from the States, not so bad. And mind you, it was just the two of us. We didn't have any children when we left. PCS back into the States during the time that it is now, a little nerve-wracking. Okay, so our first PCS when we first got to Korea, it was I was very organized. We basically just needed the most of his orders. His orders just to do everything. And like I said, it was just the two of us, so we really didn't have a lot of things. Most of our stuff was going to be in storage because we were told that the living spaces there would be smaller. But we found a high-rise that was very spacious. So if we wanted to bring more things, we could have. But I'm glad that we didn't. Because now that we've moved back, and because of the pandemic, I can't say that enough, because of the pandemic, a lot of our stuff is just taking a really long time to get here. So because we had things in storage in Texas, thank God, like the guest bed, we were able to use that for our master bedroom to sleep on, because the air mattress, honey, it was not doing it. And somehow we bought 2 air mattresses. Somehow, in both air mattresses, they ended up getting a hole. How does that happen? There were no sharp objects around. There was nothing to puncture the bed. Unless my elbow is that bony, or my husband's elbow is that bony to put a hole in the air mattress, I don't understand how 2, not 1, but 2 air mattresses get holes in the bed. I don't know. So when our stuff came from storage from Texas, I was like, yes, thank you. So we had that extra spare bed to sleep in, and that's what we're currently using right now. We're still waiting for our stuff, and it didn't take this long. When we got to Korea, our stuff, I would say it only took about, we shipped out our things early. So it was about January, or yeah, like mid-January, we shipped our things out. And then it got to Korea around March. So towards the end of March, we didn't wait too long. We waited about 2 weeks to get our things, and our things were given to us. Now that we're back, we were supposed to come back to the States March. When were we supposed to come back to the States? 18, 19. Yes. So we were supposed to come back to the States March 2020. I ended up getting pregnant around, what was it? 2019. So 2019, I got pregnant. It was my first pregnancy, and we lost our first child. So around that time as well, Tufan had to go to ALC. And then we decided when he got back, just to get a mental break, we went to Bali. So after Bali, or during Bali, when we got back to Korea, I ended up getting another job because I was working at One Stop at Camp Humphreys, and then I ended up getting another job at the Ed Center on post there, and it was Labor Day weekend, I want to say. Was it Labor Day? I think it was Labor Day weekend. It was Labor Day weekend, and you know, it's the weekend, and you know, you having a little moment, you getting all a little wild and stuff, and you do when the heat and the boop boop, and then I was pregnant again. Somewhere along those lines that happened. So my first pregnancy, I was high risk, but I didn't know I was high risk the first time. So my second pregnancy kind of followed suit. So I ended up being on bed rest, and because I was on bed rest, we could not leave March 2020. So I was on bed rest for the majority of my pregnancy in the hospital, in the Korean hospital, and we didn't end up, we were supposed to leave when Malia was going to be born, which was, I believe, May. She was supposed to be due in May. Malia did come early. She came about maybe like a week or two early, and scratch that, not a week or two, she came like 2.5 weeks early. She came in April, and she was supposed to be coming in May. And Tufan was already putting in the paperwork for us to leave to get compassionate reassignment, which is why we're here in Maryland. So when he was doing the paperwork and doing all those things to, you know, make sure everything was straight and we can just leave and get out of here and whatnot, the pandemic hit. So it just seemed like we were never getting out. We were never gonna leave. We were never gonna leave that place. And at that point, I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to go home. I need to go home because I'm about to have this baby. Like I said, I had a support system, but I just missed my family. I really missed my family, and I missed my friends back in the States. So I was like, we have to get the hell up out of here. So he did all the paperwork, and then Malia came. The Army is trying to, because we're getting cases, so the Army is trying to reduce the cases. So basically said we can't, you know, some of posts was shut down. We couldn't go on certain places on post. We couldn't go to certain shopping areas in the economy, things like that. There were like so many cases that were being, because you know it's brand new, it's the outbreak, so we couldn't go anywhere. So just had a baby. She came early, stuck in the house. Nobody can see me. There's coronavirus going on. Can you imagine what is going on in your head right now? Like, you just want to be with your family. You need help. You're tired. you're losing your mind, this baby is crying, your husband has to go back to work soon, and on top of that, he says he'll help you, but he's actually sleeping, and you can't really blame him because you're the one with the milk. He can't produce milk like you can. So it was just so much. It was so much. So they told us that he had to fill out these forms to do the compassionate reassignment. So it was like a back and forth, and that took a good month. I would say it took a good month for that to happen. And Dawn, the baby's crying. Ugh. So it was a lot of back and forth till they finally said that we could. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also have 2 dogs. So we have a husky that we got from Korea, and we have a Maltese that came with us from Texas. So a baby, a husky, and a Maltese traveling. So that was pretty wild. Anyway, so by the time we got all that done, we were starting to hear that things were just being pushed back and being postponed. So like if you had orders to leave like in February, you weren't gonna leave until like April. If you were in April, you weren't gonna leave until July. So things like that were happening. Like people's deals were getting pushed back. So I was like, we really not gonna leave this place. So at that time I was like, oh my gosh, like we need to get the hell up out of here. I mean, I love being in Korea. There's some pros and cons, and I'll do that video about that later. But it's just only so much you can take of one place, you know? All right, so like I was saying, things are getting pushed back. So our Deros date moved from September to, I think it was like, May, June. So yeah, it went from, September to June to July. Then it was the end of July to then the beginning of July. It was just a hot mess. It was just going all over the place. So we finally had a Deros date. So within that time frame, we tried to look for a house overseas because I was like, I'm not staying in nobody's hotel with no new baby in the States. We had to look for, get the dogs situated. So basically the shots, the same thing that they came in with the shots, the husky had to do to leave the country of Korea. So that, and then Millie had to get her shots. My biggest fear was the plane ride. So I was hearing mixed reviews about, you know, the people were catching the virus on the planes, on the flights. They were supposed to be social distancing and they weren't. And some flights had like people packed. It was just over the roof type of rumors that I heard. And that I was seeing online and things like that. And then there were some that they were saying, you know, some flights actually, you know, leave the whole row open, and then you had like 2 people in one corner, 2 people in another corner, and things like that. So that was my main concern. And if you're in the Army, everybody knows you either fly Patriot or commercial. So usually Patriots, like if you have pets and stuff, they're really good for accommodating for pets. But because of the pushback, because of the virus, and the Deros dates being changed, a lot of flights and things like that were just getting, it was just a hot mess during that time when everything was breaking out. It was just a hot mess. So there's a lot of frustration, a lot of people with misinformation, a lot of people just fumbling the ball. It was just a lot going on. So when we finally did get to book our flights, Delta, oh my gosh. So Delta's Korean Air is underneath Delta. Korean Air, when it came to the pets, I had to book a space for the pets. When it came to flying with pets, they gave me the runaround so bad. So I'm calling to reserve a seat for my dogs. One's in cargo and one's in cabin. Simple. Can I get the measurements, please, for their carriers? Simple. All right. I just know Korean Air is underneath Delta, and so Delta's basically saying that there's certain things they can't do with Korean Air, and Korean Air's like, well, I can't do nothing because it's Delta and they own us. So it was going a lot of back and forth for the dogs. The lady that booked our flight for us, or reserved our seats for us, she told me to call Korean Air to reserve the seats for. What's the matter? Reserve the seats for our dogs. So I called Korean Air, and Korean Air's like, no, you have to call Delta. So I was going back and forth with them for like 2 or 3 days. And don't get me started on the hold and the time to wait. I thought it was like a rumor when I was reading online on the Facebook spouses page, saying that on Delta you'll wait like 4 hours, 2 hours just to get to a representative. They were not kidding. I waited a whole hour and a half my first call to speak to someone. 2 hours? 3 hours? Come on. Just for you to tell me to call Korean Air, for the Korean Air to tell me to call y'all. So, hot mess, hated it. Eventually, I got that done. So, we had to ship our car, so we didn't have a car. We had a Korean bucket car, so that we had to sell. And so we didn't have a car. Luckily, the spouses page on Facebook for Camp Humphreys was really helpful in terms of people PCSing. That's where I got most of my information from. They had the taxi information and taxi SUVs that literally can fit a whole family and 2 dogs and your luggage for I think 100 and something won. We got that done, and we took the taxi from where we stayed, from the high rise to the hotel on post. And from the hotel on post, we went to Incheon Airport where they did temperature checks. And I believe when people coming from the States were coming in to the airport, they had them screened for the virus or screened for fever. I'm not sure if they actually tested them, but it was really early, so the airport was kind of empty. But I know for us leaving, they just took our temperature. So the flight, I was kind of shocked that it was full. I ended up losing my camera on the plane. But the flight, because I actually had some footage of the flight on that camera, and then I left the camera in the back pocket of the seat in front of me with my mini tripod. I was so upset. Still upset about it. So I think they tried to social distance the seats, but I could touch the next person in front of me with my arm, with my pointer finger. So I don't think they did a really good job of that. But we had to wear masks the whole flight, except for eating. Malia was in her car seat, and she surprisingly did very well on the flight. I thought she was gonna cry and be fussy, but she did very well on the flight. She did very well through all the traveling, actually. So we had a stop in Atlanta. She did really good. And I think it was like Atlanta stop was about an hour or two. She did really, really good. So kudos to you, big girl. Biting the heck out of it. Cassie. She's also teething. You're a monster. A monster. I feel like because of the coronavirus, and on top of having a newborn, on top of giving birth, on top of your dares being pushed back, I think it's a lot. It did take a toll on us because it was just a lot going on at the same time, and your body's still trying to recover from having a baby, and your mind, it it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm just glad that we're here. We're finally here. We're back. And in another video, I'll do pros and cons of Korea, living in Korea. That was our PCS experience. I would say be prepared. Make sure you have your paperwork together. Make sure, I know things change, and they will just, it's the army. Nothing is set in stone in the army, you know. And just make sure you have all your documents together, and it's easy for you to adjust. You can always adjust. And even though, I may sound like I'm complaining, because I was, there's a lot going on. We had to adjust. So that was my experience with PCSing. If you have any questions, or if you're coming back from any country overseas, you want to share your experience, leave a comment below. And if you like this content, subscribe, please. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy seeing Malia's pretty face. Yeah, that's you, girl. Bye. Say bye, girl. Say bye.